Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Cancer happening on July 5th, 2024. And this new moon, as I've talked about in previous videos, is going to be exactly conjunct the star Sirius. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can go back and I channeled a whole video just specifically talking about Sirius. Well, first I dove into kind of what is Sirius, and then I channeled a message regarding Sirius. And thank you so much to those of you who commented on it, and it really seemed to light lots of you up. So I'm really glad about that. And that helped me to feel into this new moon. And there's so many beautiful themes in this new moon. And actually, I'm also going to bring in the star Vega. And I think later this week, I'll probably do a channeled video about Vega, because now that one is lighting up and calling to me. So, and I'll show you why. Yeah, and the themes are just like, wow, they all blend together in such a beautiful way. So let me first show you the actual astrology chart of the new moon. Then I'll show you where it falls in the sky. I'll show you Vega in the sky. And I'll say a little more about this in a second, but just so you know, at this time of year, right now it's what is it? The end of June. At this time of year, Vega is really, really visible, super bright and high in the sky as the sun is setting. Really easy to see in the eastern horizon. So, like, I was out there, I think it was last night or the night before, and it was just so bright. So this would right now is a really perfect time of year to feel into Vega, to see Vega, and yeah, to get to know your own relationship with it. So just FYI, if it calls to you, it's really quite remarkable, and I'm excited to do that myself. Okay, so let me show you this chart. All right, so here is the new moon. Again, it's going to be July 5th, 2024, 3:57 p.m. Pacific time. So for lots of you in Europe, Asia, et cetera, it'd actually be July 6th. Australia, definitely July 6th. But yeah, it will be 14 degrees, 23 minutes of Cancer, conjunct Sirius, which if we were to put Sirius on the ecliptic, which it's not, Sirius is considered at 14 degrees, 24 minutes of Cancer. So right there in the vicinity of Sirius. And then opposite that, if we were to consider Vega on the ecliptic, which it also absolutely is not, and I'll show you that in a minute, it's really, really not. But if it were, it would be at 15 degrees of Capricorn. So opposite Sirius and opposite this new moon. And also opposite the new moon in Sirius and conjunct Vega is Ceres, the asteroid. And I made a whole video on Pluto and Ceres going retrograde at the same time. So as I said in that video, Ceres is in this dance right now where it went retrograde in May, right around the time Pluto went retrograde. And as Ceres is going retrograde, it's going to be meeting up with this group of other beings in Capricorn, Ixion, Pholus, and Quaoar. And then all four of them together are going to be squaring the nodes of the moon and going direct pretty much around the same time. And it's going to be really powerful in the next month to-ish, especially August into September. I think that energy is going to be especially powerful and strong. And, go back to that video. I'll link that video here if you want to hear more in depth about that. But on a basic level, the way I feel the potential of that energetic is really, really strongly about our ability and our opportunity to release various patternings of ancestral everything, anything that's ready to go to be released. And also at the same time, and this actually ties into the themes I want to talk about with this new moon, because it fits so perfectly with the polarity and the balance with Cancer energy, the ability to then, at the same time as we're letting go of the patterning that no longer serves us, we can also anchor in and remember the beautiful, deep gifts of our family, of our ancestry, of our origins as human DNA, but in general, karmically. Okay, come back to that, all of those themes in a second. The other thing I want to say about the astrology of this chart is, another really massively powerful, important thing about where this new moon falls is that it's going to be squaring the nodes of the moon also. And yeah, so it's, to me, when something squares the nodes of the moon, it's like a karmic choice point kind of an energy. It's a moment when we have a turning point where we can go that way or that way. We can choose to integrate whatever is here for us to integrate, or not. And yeah, like it's not necessarily going to automatically happen, but it will probably automatically will be given the opportunity for us to choose to do it. And yeah, and it's like a pivotal moment where again we have that opportunity to integrate the polarities into the wholeness that we are, or keep living in a sense of separation. Basically, that's kind of the way I would sum it up. But I'll come back to those themes in a second. I want to first show you in the sky where these things are. All right, so I'm going to pull up Stellarium, which again, I've said probably a million times is free. So it's stellarium.org. And oops, not that. You can access it yourself anytime. Super easy to use, like really, really super user-friendly. Highly recommend it. And you can type in any star or planet that you want to look at in the sky, and it will do that for you. Okay. Now I think I have the right thing here for you. There we go. Okay. So first of all, here is Vega. So Vega is in the constellation of Lyra, if you don't know. And again, it's very, very bright, and you can see it in the sky really easily right now. And what I mainly want to show you is how far from the ecliptic it is. So right now, the sun is moving into the constellation of Gemini, and it, at the time of this new moon, I'll show you in a second, the sun and the moon will be in the constellation, it'll be in the sign of Cancer, but in the constellation of Gemini, or the twins. So opposite the sun in the zodiac is the constellation of Sagittarius. But on a chart, it looks like Vega is conjunct, is exactly opposite the new moon as well. And in a sense, if you're going to draw a line, it is opposite, but it's not on the ecliptic. This is the red line is the ecliptic, and the ecliptic means that's the path that visually we experience the sun going across our sky. So this is in the sky, this is where the sun goes. And on a chart, on an astrology chart, where it's assuming that this whole entire sky is collapsed onto one flat plane, which obviously is not true. But you can see, here is Vega way off the ecliptic. So it's, I just want to show that just to get it, that I think it's important for us to hold it all lightly. but the energetic is here. And yeah, and so, and Vega, just a teeny tiny about Vega, I'll say more when I make a video specifically on Vega, and I'll dive more deeply into it and then channel about it. But the big striking thing about Vega to me is that Vega is often associated with our soul song. And if you know anything about my work lately, that has been the theme. It's like I've been holding all these free events all about coming into our soul song. And yesterday I held a free event for the solstice, which is still available if you want to sign up for it. And it was amazing. And thank you so much to all of you who were there. But we basically came into the soul song of our individual selves, and then into the soul song of the collective of infinity. And then we connected that golden light of the soul song of all the realms of infinity through a sacred temple straight into the light of the heart of source itself. And for me, this Vega energy seems very connected to that. So yeah, so I'll explore more in a dedicated video just about Vega, but that's pretty remarkable. Yeah. And actually that also fits so well with the energy I feel of Quawar, which I feel has to do with the song of creation and coming back into a remembering of the song of creation as well. So in that little group in Capricorn, we're getting lots of support to be coming into our soul song. I'm actually going to put in Quawar and see if yeah, there it is. Let's see where it is in this. Okay, here. So here's where Quawar is in the sky. I've actually never looked at that. So Quawar is much closer to the ecliptic, at least at the moment. A lot of the Kuiper belt objects are not anywhere on the ecliptic, but it looks like Quawar is actually relatively close to the ecliptic right now. But you can see it's in the same part of the sky as Vega. So we have this, that's so, that's the first time I'm noticing that. And then I'll look at Ixion. That's another one of okay, so here's Ixion, also relatively close to the ecliptic. So remember, Quawar was over here, Ixion is here, and then the other two are Pholus. So look where Pholus is. Okay, Pholus and Quawar, yeah, both in this constellation right here, relatively close to the ecliptic. And then Sirius is right here in Sagittarius, in the constellation of Sagittarius, in the sign of Capricorn, right? So yeah, so Sirius, Quawar, Ixion, and Pholus are all hugging the ecliptic together right here. And then we have Vega over here, way off the ecliptic, but in that same general part of the sky. So, I would say maybe singing together. That'd be one way to put it. So that's really beautiful, fascinating. Okay, so this whole group of things is what's going to be opposite the new moon. Okay, so now let me show you where in the sky the moon is going to be. So here's the sun and the moon, and not too far Venus, all right in the middle of the constellation of Gemini, or the twins. And then Sirius here, also off the ecliptic, not quite as far off the ecliptic, I guess, as Vega, but definitely relatively far off the ecliptic. And so you can see, okay, when we see it on a chart, that Sirius is conjunct, quote unquote, conjunct the sun and the moon. I mean, sure, but like you can see the sun and the moon really, really are conjunct in the sky from our perspective. Sirius, but its energy is there. Okay, so let me come back now to the chart, the two-dimensional chart, and I want to just drop into these themes a little bit more, just flesh them out a bit more. And the two-dimensional chart helps me just because we can see everything all at the same time. Okay. So again, here's the new moon, quote unquote, conjunct Sirius, opposite Ceres, Quaoar, Ixion, Quaoar, Pholus, and Ixion, and Vega, and squaring the nodes of the moon. Okay, so what do I feel in all of that? And I would love your thoughts too. But okay, so on a basic level, the Cancer Capricorn energy polarity is really, really fascinating and beautiful, and and for all of us is getting highlighted the whole 18 months that so the nodes of the moon switch signs every 18 months. So they spend about 18 months in every set of signs. And they are in Libra and Aries this whole year, right? So the whole time that the nodes are in any two signs, of course, those two signs are really, really highlighted. But the other thing that's incredibly highlighted are the two signs they are squaring. Because again, in evolutionary astrology, when something squares the nodes of the moon, it's considered a skipped step. And the way I think of it, it's like, I mean, I feel that, but I take it a little like a step further for me. It's like, I really feel the nodes of the moon as a holding space, like a craniosacral healing hold of the cosmos. And if you are a body worker, or if you have ever had body work done, like if you think of one hand going under the sacrum and one hand going under the occiput, when you hold a body like that, or any two, when you do like polarity therapy, when you hold any two places like the heart and the lower abdomen, or whatever it is, what arises in the energy field of the body is not actually necessarily so much where your hands are. It's what really tends to arise is the energy ready to heal and to move in the space between where your hands are. So for example, if you have one hand under the occiput and one hand under the occiput, one hand under the sacrum and one hand under the occiput, kind of infinite things can go on. But typically what I'll feel happening when I'm doing that is, then all of a sudden the whole body can unravel. And especially, well, really the entire body, really the entire body. But it's not so much that I'm targeting the sacrum and or the occiput. It's that I'm in a holding space for the entire body, the whole being, right? So that's how I feel the nodes of the moon are energetically, or they can be, or we can think of them like that, is that whenever the nodes of the moon are squaring anything, especially the things being in the middle, so the things being squared by the nodes of the moon have the chance to be held, to arise, and to change, to heal, to release. So the whole time that the nodes are in Libra and Aries, that's exactly what's happening for everything in Capricorn and Cancer. And right now, the nodes of the moon are in the mid degrees, heading toward the early degrees of Libra and Aries. So it's especially anything in your chart that is in that mid range of Cancer and Capricorn is getting very, very highlighted and is being held to heal and change and transform. And certainly, of course, anything that you have around 10 degrees of Libra or Aries definitely also is being very, very highlighted, just in a slightly different way. Anything on the south node, I would say, like anything you have in the mid degrees of Libra, it's getting a chance to release karmic patterning of the past. It's like, how do I explain the difference? It's a bit more direct, I would say, if it's on the south node versus if it's being held in the square. And if you have, anything you have in Aries, this 18 months is getting very, very, very definitely highlighted to by the North Node, to like you're getting a focus to come into healing and a new way of being with that energetic. And there's so many variables, like if you have things in the higher degrees of Aries, you've already had the North Node on it, but you also have Chiron on it. So the mega healing, like my own Venus is at 22 degrees of Aries, and so I already had the North Node on my Venus, but also Chiron is sitting on my Venus. So, it's just, there's lots of variability here, but in general, I hope that gives kind of the idea. So the point being, right now for all of us, but especially highlighted at this new moon, and then even stronger, I would say, in August, in various ways, we're getting supported to come into a healing dance between this Capricorn and Cancer energy and the Libra Aries energies. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, Capricorn and Cancer for me are really, really about, among other things, our relationship to ancestry, our relationship to the structures of society, and the dance and the balance of that to our inner tender needs. So Capricorn in a very unbalanced energetic is often associated with the harsh structures of patriarchy, but it's not equated with that. That's not what it actually is. That is how it has manifested in an unbalanced system, in an unbalanced way. Capricorn doesn't necessarily have to do with patriarchy. Patriarchy happens to be the system of our society that we have had for the last however long, right? But in a world where patriarchy isn't the status quo, then Capricorn would not necessarily be related to patriarchy. Capricorn is related to structures and society, whatever they happen to be, or the potentials of what they could be. And Capricorn also on the really, really beautiful, more, I would say, healthy version of Capricorn is actually also so strongly about our own deep ancient wisdom and the knowing that we have innately as ourselves as elders, and not elders as in the age that we are, but that we all are elders. We are all made of existence. We are all infinity. So we are all ancient, literally. We just are. And yeah, and so what I feel the potential in this, among other things, is really for us to be held in that craniosacral hold, to be releasing the shadow side, or the structures, the notions about structures, and the voices, the outside authority voices that maybe we've carried from many, many, many lifetimes, or this lifetime, that are not actually serving the inner wisdom that we know is real, and our deep soul song and the soul song of existence itself. And I feel like Sirius and Vega in the mix of all this, again, you can feel into the Sirius channeling I did, that was really talking about, I was not expecting what came through in that video. But what came through was essentially about transcending our notions of DNA and coming into the true light codes of what the structure of our being is, and the evolution of how we are constantly moving through time and space. And so the structures of our beings also are constantly needing to move. So what that channeling talked about was, it's similar to how when a mother is pregnant and she gives birth, the first thing that the body produces for the baby is colostrum, right? And I've had 2 babies of my own, so I know this very, very firsthand. Yeah, and colostrum is a very, very specific kind of medicinal substance for that newborn. It's very thick. It's not like milk. Um, but it's like liquid, it's like gold. That's talked about as being gold. It's so perfect for the newborn, especially for the newborn whose stomach is teeny tiny and would get overwhelmed by lots of milk just suddenly being there. But then around day 3, the milk lets down, and suddenly then the milk comes in, and that milk is designed specifically for the needs of that baby. And then the quality, the chemical makeup of the mother's milk changes over time as the baby grows. And by the time a baby is a toddler, like 2 years old, then the chemistry of the milk is actually very targeted for the brain development of a toddler. So it's fascinating. I'm getting a thumbs up by my computer. Okay. Yeah, so it's really, really fascinating how our bodies literally, as mothers, know how to adapt and change to the needs of the nourishment and the structure of the baby. So same deal as what they were saying in that channeling, is that like the structure of how our energy bodies and our physical bodies manifest in the time-space continuum also is in this continual evolution and growth and dance. And so yeah, so bottom line, they were saying, yeah, we need you to release into allowing these forms of light codes essentially to keep moving, keep changing, just like the milk of the mother changes. So it's a very Cancerian theme, actually. It's fascinating. And then Vega, we need to be true to that soul song of ourselves, true to the soul song of existence. And again, I'll channel about Vega, and I'd love to drop into more about Vega with you just in general, because that just helps me personally to really get it, to really feel it. And I would love your input too. So yeah, so there's just something overall about this new moon energy that's incredibly magical. And what's coming to me is that we're being held to come into this new time and new place and new space, right? That we're not stuck. We're not bound to the needs and the structures of what was 5 minutes ago, just like the baby isn't. And we're being held in a way that we can come to that soul song. We can come to the resonance and the vibration that is true on that deep soul level and on the level of existence, the knowing of existence, and of the knowing of our inner tender needs. Cancer energy also. We also have Venus there in Cancer, right? Quite near the new moon. Yeah, and there's always so much more I could say. We're going to be having, Mars getting really, really close to Uranus by this time in Taurus. Jupiter is going to be conjunct Aldebaran, which I talked about in previous videos. Yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting something key, but also, oh, well, yeah, and Saturn will have gone retrograde, and Neptune will have just gone retrograde at this time. So yeah, there's just endless things I could talk about, but that's the big theme I'm feeling called to name regarding this new moon. Yeah, and also just to add in Lelia Kuhanua, who lots of you have been talking with me about, also is near the north node of the moon. Again, not on the ecliptic, so we can't really say that, but she's there. And to me, she helps bring back this remembering of who we are, and so much more there. And it's not on this chart, but Make is near the south node of the moon. Anyway, there's a lot of other stuff going on. But for me, it's all about coming back to wholeness, coming back to the truth of this exact moment, which it always is, that we are whole, we are one, we are literally the song of existence as ourselves, period. I mean, it's just true. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll just say one more thing, which is I want to acknowledge that, when the energies like this are being squared by the nodes of the moon, it can be a time where things come up that are not necessarily easy and might feel uncomfortable. And so I do feel that Ceres energy there helping us to be soothed, and then another energy that is going to be really strong in August, at the new moon in August, and the full moon, especially the full moon in August, is Vesta. And just briefly, I'll say, I mentioned before that Chris Skidmore is coming to California in August, and he and I are going to be doing an in-person day and a half retreat in Santa Barbara, where I live. And if you haven't been here, it's unbelievably beautiful, gorgeous. I live in paradise. I just do. It's so amazing here. And yeah, so we're going to be doing this in-person day and a half retreat on Hestia, Vesta, and on finding our inner hearth, finding our inner sacred temple and our inner sacred fire, and really, in a sense, coming home to ourselves and nurturing that inner sacred temple that is us. And one of the things that feels so important to me about that, we're gonna do a little video in a few days, and we'll say more about it. But something about the Vesta Hestia energy that's so important to me is that it's really, really easy, and I would say even supported in our world, for us to jump out of ourselves. And when we so yeah, I mean, there's so much to this topic, and of course we'll dive into it with Chris more deeply. But another thing that was dawning on me is that Vesta is going to be conjunct the sun in August at the same time that Ceres goes retrograde, squaring the nodes of the moon with this Capricorn cluster, right? So something that I think is such a gift about the Hestia Vesta energy, that will be very, very, very especially strong at the time of that exact squaring to the nodes, is when we have things arising, like traumas arising, or things that are ready to clear from ancestral healing or our own childhood or whatever it is, which can be very alive in this Capricorn Cancer dance polarity. It's really such a gift to have an inner temple, and we all have that, but to be able to feel it, to know it, to have it ready right here, always here. And yeah, and again, Chris and I will make a video later this week, and we'll go into this a little bit more, and we'll go way more in depth into this for any of you able and wanting to come to the in-person retreat. But something, just as we've been talking about it, that's pretty alive for me about it, is that I would say most of us as women especially, but I think people of all genders are not trained in what it is to cultivate that inner temple, that self-sovereign being that is us, that the being of us that is whole unto ourselves, and where that inner flame, that inner fire, which just is who we are. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just there because literally we're all made of source. We are that fire. We're trained really to either, especially I think as women, be just wide open and available to the needs of everyone else. And we forget about our own inner self, our own inner fire, our own inner flame. And we don't tend to spend lots of time really cultivating that in our own space often. And typically we're trained to look outside of ourselves for whatever we feel we are needing, right? And when we get into relationship of any kind, especially really deep, intimate relationship, it's so easy to jump outside of ourselves to engage with the other. And something Chris and I were talking about is, so once you find that temple and you really cultivate the flame, then a next step can be the ability to take that inner flame basically with you into relationship. So it's not that you ever leave behind. It's not that you leave your inner temple and then come back to it really so much. It's that there's a skill, there's a whole skill set that we're just not trained in this culture. We're just not, or I haven't been. I don't think we are in general, is how do we be in that inner temple that is ourselves and cultivate that inner fire and engage from that place when we do dances with others of all kinds, right? So I think that's a theme that's going to be especially strongly alive as we move into August. But even now, it's this energy of, this new moon definitely big time is highlighting, massively is highlighting the Cancer Capricorn dance. And I just want to name that it might feel blissful, but it also might feel difficult at some points. And so I just want to remind us that we have lots and lots of tools. We have lots and lots of allies. We have the cosmos itself. We have the earth itself that is here. We have all the infinite spirit realms, of course, that are here. We have each other. We have our own inner fire. We have, we are the temple of we are temples of the divine all the time. So much more there I could say, but I will take a deep breath and leave it there for right now, I think. And yeah, if you're interested in this in-person retreat, it's going to be Friday, the afternoon of Friday, August 9th, and all day Saturday, August 10th. I think it's going to be really special, really beautiful. Again, Santa Barbara, California, paradise, super paradise, most beautiful beaches, and yeah. Anyway, and if you didn't sign up yet for the free event that I held yesterday, the free solstice event that's still available, absolutely, definitely do that. I highly recommend it. It was amazing for me, at least. I loved hearing what everyone was sharing, and Melanie Reinhardt is going to be doing a workshop. If you haven't heard me say this, she's going to be doing a workshop on July 17th online on the centaurs, the 4 main centaurs, including Pholus, which is one of those beings that's going to be squaring the nodes of the moon coming up. So yeah, it's a pretty unusual opportunity to be in a workshop with her about all 4 of the centaurs. She's probably the world-renowned I don't think she want me to call her an expert, but anyway, she's the world-renowned astrologer on the centaurs. She's, of course, amazing. And so you're very welcome to come to that, join us for that if you would like. And also just mention that I, in the month of July, especially, I think it's the fourth week of July, something like that. I have extra time available for personal sessions if that's something you're wanting. Typically, my availability is relatively limited for that, but in the month of July, my kids are going to be away for a lot of the time, and so I have extra time open. And if you're wanting that, this is a great time for that. The link for all of these things is with the description of this video. And oh, and let's see, I'm also starting, or yeah, I'm holding these small soul song sharing circles. There's availability for, a couple people in those each at this point. And so if you're interested in that, take a look at the link for that as well. Be in touch with me with any questions about what may or may not be appropriate for you. I'm sure there are other things I'm forgetting. But anyway, reach out if you are wanting support of any kind, and I'll help direct you to what might be the right thing for you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I would really love for you to subscribe. It really helps me, supports me. And I would love to hear your thoughts about this new moon. And I'm really excited to make the video on Vega for you later this week, probably so, but I'll be making it soon. Yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to that. Okay. Be in touch anytime. See you soon.